Al Pacino credits his Oscar-winning success to his troubled mother, who died from an overdose when he was 22, even if she didn't want him to act. The Godfather star, 84, was brought up by Rose and his grandparents in the Bronx after his mum and dad divorced when he was 2, and he says she inadvertently shaped his career by taking him to the movies. Pacino recalls a suicide attempt by Rose when he was 6 and later her death from an overdose in 1962, in an excerpt from his new book Sonny Boy, a memoir published in The New Yorker this week. The star also says he lost friends to drugs and that Rose saved him from a life of crime growing up in New York. He titled the book after the nickname his mum gave him, which came from the popular song by Jolson. Pacino, whose other acclaimed movies include Scarface and Dog Day Afternoon, writes, "My mother was a beautiful woman, but she was emotionally fragile. She would occasionally visit a psychiatrist when Grandad had the money to pay. I wasn't aware that my mother was having problems until one day when I was 6 years old and getting ready to go out and play. I was sitting in a chair in the kitchen while my mother laced up my shoes and put a sweater on me, and I noticed that she was crying. I wondered what the matter was, but I didn't know how to ask. She was kissing me all over, and right before I left she gave me a great big hug. It was unusual, but I was eager to meet up with the other kids, and I gave it no more thought." Pacino then describes how he was playing outside when there was a commotion elsewhere on the street close to where his grandparents lived, and he was told his mother was involved. He says, "There was an ambulance in front of the building and there, coming out the front doors, carried on a stretcher, was my mother. She had attempted suicide." Rose recovered at least partially from her fragile state, and went on to parent Pacino for a number of years. He describes how, from an early age, she would take him to the cinema and he began to run the characters' lines through his head. But they eventually clashed over his desire to become an actor, and he left home after dropping out of classes in favor of acting. He attended the High School of Performing Arts after getting in via an audition. Rose died from an overdose when he was 22 years old. Pacino says he refuses to believe her death was suicide because she didn't leave a note, unlike when she tried to take her own life when he was a boy. He writes, "Some people thought that she had committed suicide, as she had tried to almost 15 years earlier. But she left no note. She was just gone. That's why I have always kept a question mark next to her death." He says he wandered around zombie-like after the loss, and that his grandfather James Girardi died shortly afterwards, incidents which together formed what he has called the lowest point of my life. Dad of 4 Pacino, who gave up drinking alcohol in 1977, says his luck changed as he got older and he is now considered a Hollywood great, having won an Oscar, 2 Tonys and 2 Emmys. Reflecting on his Oscar win for 1992's Scent of a Woman, he writes, "One day I'm 52, looking in the vanity mirror, wondering whom I should thank in an acceptance speech. I realize that I'm still here because of my mother. Of course, that's who I have to thank. She's the one who parried me away from a path that led to delinquency and violence, to heroin. I lost 3 friends that way. I was not under strict surveillance, but my mother paid attention to where I was. She saved my life." Sonny Boy. A memoir is out on October 24th. An excerpt appears in this week's New Yorker and on its website. Follow Mirror Celebs on TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Threads.